on our conversation today. Welcome. We've been doing this for going on 2 months? And I guess the question you ask yourself in the middle of all this time is, during the 90 days we've been locked down, what have you been able to accomplish? We've been locked down since March the 14th or something like that. Now we're going into June the 18th. That's been about 90 days, like 3 months. So all of March and April, May, June, that's 90 days. You know, anytime you want to change your life, you just pick a 90-day time frame, because almost in any 90-day time frame, you can do almost anything. And so if you miss this time frame, if you look back over the last 90 days of COVID, and you find yourself overwhelmed with being stuck at home and having the family all around you, not being able to go out, getting things, if your 90 days hasn't been as productive as you would have hoped, then the question you would ask yourself is, how could I have changed that? Could I have just focused on, if I could just said to myself, no matter what was going on during that 90 days, if I could just have focused 1 hour a day during 90 days and focused 100% on that one thing for 90 days, you know, you can do almost anything. You could lose 30, 40 pounds. You could get a 6-pack abs. You could learn a new language. You could get married. You could get divorced. You could start a child. A lot of us did that during this time frame. There's just a lot of things you could do. So that's what this conversation about successful people is all about. It's being a successful person. So what does a successful person do? During this last 90 days, you have to look back over your patterns. You know, what were the habits that you established for yourself over the last 90 days? Because it all really boils down to habits. And if there was a habit, was it a habit that empowered you, or was it a habit that weakened you? You have to think about that for a second. You know, we have 90 days where we can go back over and we can look what we got accomplished. We can figure out how much money flowed into our lives. We can figure out what we weigh. We can figure out what books we might have written, what books we might have read. How many books did you read? We can figure out how many books did you launch? How many businesses did you launch? How many extra overtime did you put in? I mean, there's a lot of ways we could calculate what a successful person is. And so you get to decide what successful people means to you. What is it for you to be a successful person? And we kind of launched this under the premise that we'd continue to do these calls throughout our COVID challenges. And we are not out of them yet, but things are starting to open up slowly around the country, but still the 90 days have gone by. So you get a chance to look. Since the last time we were on the call, what did I get done? What did I not get done? Why? So this is just a reflective conversation I want to have with you. With all of us, with me as well. What were the habits you established in the last 90 days? What were the habits that you broke? Did you have a pattern of a ritual on a daily basis? No matter what's going on in the world, it's still important to have a ritual. Did you get up and do your ritual? Did you do your meditation, your prayer, your scripture reading, your book reading, your planning, whatever it happens to be? Did you prepare for that day? No matter what's going on around you, no matter what, and this has been the greatest challenge that I remember living through, frankly. These last, in my 72 years, this has been the biggest upheaval that I've particularly experienced, that I've been consciously aware of. There was a real terrible recession in 74. There was another nice recession in 81, 82. You know, we had recessions, but in 2008, 2009, well, yeah, we lived through that. Now this COVID thing. If you look back over the last century, what kind of major upheavals have happened? And during those upheavals, successful people got stuff done. First World War, pandemic, I've shared this with you before, the Depression, the Second World War, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, the recessions in 2008, the biggest recession since the Great Depression. Successful people just get stuff done. So the question I want to ask you is, sit down with yourself over the next week and sit down and spend an hour and go back over the last month. Pull out your phone, look at your calendar, look at all the things you had on your calendar. Did you get all those things done? What do those things lead to? Have some of those projects you launched, 90 days ago, have they come to fruition yet? Are you still on the path? As I've said many times, Americans, North Americans are the biggest losers because they are the biggest quitters. They start things and they quit. So look over the last 90 days. Did you start anything? Did you quit it? Why did you quit it? Said you were going to do it. Did it get done? If it got done, congratulations. You said you're going to do it. Is your word to yourself? You did it. Congratulations. If you said you're going to do something, you started something back in March, and now you might have, I know it's for me, so I'm actually talking to myself. There's actually some things I said, declared to people around me, I've forgotten. Somehow or in the middle of all this turmoil, you just kind of forget what things you said you were going to do. That's why making a written declaration, posting it all around you, so you don't forget what you said. So the question is, you look back over your last 90 days, did you do it? Reach over your left shoulder, pat yourself on the back. You didn't do it? Well, now I've taught you the success cycle. The success cycle is basically, if you didn't achieve the things you declared, you committed to, then it's recycle, just recommit, keep doing it. If you've forgotten what things you wrote down you were going to do, then it's time to say today, which is the 18th of June, I recommit. So some of you may want to do that in the chat. You might say, it's the 18th of June, I recommit to, and you declare it to us. You let us know what it is you said you were going to do. Kelly says, I also finished my first book. Some of you have chatted in here about the things you've done. Congratulations. Still working on some things, says Tasha. Kelly finished a book. I am recording. Thank you very much. Somebody was asking me. You finished your first book? Yeah, okay, I'm pinning my picture. I think I have. Yeah, I've pinned my video. So this is just a chance to kind of refresh, rethink, refocus. Because think about what you could do 4 times a year if every quarter you treated your life like a corporation who needs to report its earnings to its shareholders every quarter, every 3 months. What if you were held to that accountability in your life, where every 3 months you needed to report your earnings so that your shareholders could find out? What if you reported it to your friends and family, declared it as a shareholder, a stake in your success? So the question is, would you do it or wouldn't you? Would you, if you reported every 90 days? So I'm asking you, since we're finishing the second quarter of 2020, in a few days we're going to start the third quarter, July, August, September. What do you want to commit to do? Because if you were to focus on just a few things, outside your normal life, where your family things and your job and the things you would normally do, as things start opening back up again and your life gets starting back to normal, you can get caught in the whirlwind of all the little things, and therefore the big things get forgotten. So if you had to report your progress on the 1st of October, that's July, September, October, if you had to report, and your stock would either go up or down based upon the report you give. That's the way it is in the stock market. If you release your earnings and the earnings are less than what you projected, what you said you were going to do, guess what happens to the earnings? Well, the earnings are whatever you report, but what happens to the value of your stock? It normally goes down because people are saying, hey, you said you were going to do this. This was what you reported your earnings were going to be, and they're less than that. For in reality, stock goes down. What would happen in your life if you had to report your earnings? Now, your earnings would be in lots of different things. It could be money. It could be personal growth. It could be new habits you've added to your life. It could be all kinds of areas of your life, such as your earnings. How are you growing in your life? Your relationship is getting better. Your mindset. Have you been able to get rid of some limiting beliefs? Have you been working on that? Have you been working on your ritual? Is your ritual established? How many books during your rituals have you read this 90 days? Last 90 days for me, I've been reading more fiction than I usually do. I usually have lots of nonfiction books that are constantly reading. I've been reading, I've ordered some children's books, actually. I've ordered this one. It's called The Great Me. Lisa Sasevich has a book out called, I can't remember what her book's called. It's just a brand new one that's out. And I read it, and she strongly recommended that I buy that book. I went online to find it. It's not available. It's out of print. So it cost me $40, $50 to get this little children's book that she highly recommended. So that was a book I read. I also bought this one at a bookstore. What do you do with an idea? That's another children's book. And I read probably 10 other books over the last 90 days. How have you done? All right, so that's my rant. I've just wanted to kind of rant just a little bit. Today now we're going to be talking about what I call the millionaire matrix. Now, a millionaire matrix might have no meaning to some of you because you're not in business. But there's an article I want to give you. And it's called The Millionaire Matrix. And I'm going to see once again if I'm able to, I don't think I can. I don't think I can. All right. So I'm going to send out another email. For those of you who signed up for successfulpeople.com, and I'm going to send out another email with a special report. I'm also going to post it on Facebook. So if you don't get it in an email, it'll be posted in Facebook. And it's called The Millionaire Matrix. And it's a 20-page report, 21 pages actually. And it's for entrepreneurs. Let me show you what it looks like. Now, some of you on this call are calling because you're an employee and you just want to be more successful. Most of my avatars, that means people who connect with me, are connecting usually with that millionaire word, which is, I've written the books on that, the 1 Minute Millionaire and other things. Usually an entrepreneur will resonate with that word millionaire. So I've written this special report I'm going to share with you on Facebook. Kanisha will post that for us. And I'm also going to share it in an email to anybody who wants, anybody who responds to our Successful People calls. So one way or another, you're going to get a copy of this. And I put a subtitle on it because I've focused it on, first of all, as an entrepreneur, what are you doing? You're selling widgets, and so how much money do you make from the widgets you sell? Do you make $1 in profit from a widget? Do you make $10 in profit from a widget? Adding a zero, do you make $100 in profit from a widget? $1,000 in profit? $10,000, $100,000, $1 million. In other words, your widgets, if you times it by 10, you end up with a pretty large number. So depends on how much you want to earn. So this special report talks about working on the mothership versus owning a mothership. And that's a conversation that I have with entrepreneurs. If you're an employee, then you're working on somebody's mothership. You're an employee, you're a deckhand on the mothership. The captain is going to tell you to go swab the deck, you go swab the deck. Whatever the captain tells you to do, that's what you do. They pay you a pittance, and the captain gets to live in the big cabin and have all the fancy people come and drink the best food and etc. And you get to go to your quarters on the mothership versus owning a mothership, which means you get to be the captain. And that's really the difference between an employee and an entrepreneur. Do you want to be the captain or do you want to be a deckhand? And most people are deckhands, right? In fact, 85% of, more than likely, I'm going to say my audience is probably at least 50% entrepreneur. Well, let's find out. Let's find out. Let's go in the chat. Tell me, are you an employee or an entrepreneur? So and it's okay, whichever one you want. I don't want you to feel as if I'm saying one's good or one's bad. I'm not. I'm saying some people are certain ways of thinking and employees are another. So just type in the chat right now, everybody, employee or entrepreneur, employee or entrepreneur. Let's just see what percentage of this audience is kind of the way I think. Okay, here we got entrepreneur, we got both. Okay, and it's both. It's okay to be both. That's a good one. That means you have a job and you got a side hustle, right? Okay, good. About to shift to entrepreneurs is aspiring infopreneur. Very good, Scott. You are going to be a very successful infopreneur, Scott. Scott is part of our idea to income master class. Okay, both for now. Employee, good. Thank you, Brian. Entrepreneur, both entrepreneur, upcoming entrepreneur, rewired. Okay. Entrepreneur, semi-retired business person. Okay. Infopreneur. I'm going to say probably 90% of you are either an entrepreneur or both, entrepreneur and employee, which is great. Well, in the audience, in the United States, it's just flipped. It's just backwards from that. 85% of people are employees. Now, some of those 85% will have a side hustle. So I would say probably another 25% of those would have a side hustle. So say maybe 60% are just straight pure employees. 25% would be employees and entrepreneurs, and then 15% is pure entrepreneur. Thank you. So nice to know who I'm talking to, which is, so in a sense, you want to be the captain of the mothership, right? So the first part of this special report talks about how employees make their money, and they sell time. They sell their time for a profit. So much money per hour. Whereas an entrepreneur doesn't think that way. They don't think about how much money they make per hour. They think about how much profit they make per widget. Totally different mindsets. Employees, they want to make long, slow money, small, slow money. They want to work for somebody else for 50 years and then retire on half salary, half retirement income, and they're okay with that. And their main thing is security. They want security. They're willing to give up their freedom for security. And I've said many times, there are only two doors in life. There's the door marked freedom, and there's the door marked security. And if you choose security, you lose both. If you choose the door marked security, you lose your freedom and your security, because there just isn't any security. You know, in this world going upside down, just think about what's happened over the last 90 days. Many of you were just blithely going along thinking you'd work like this for the next 20, 30 years, and bam, now your job is gone. Not for any reason that you caused, it's because the whole world changed. Just think about all those people who used to work by going to work, and now since companies were forced to make their employees work from home, what percentage of the businesses will not have their employees come back to work now? Because they figured out it worked. They were able to survive that way. So do we need all this office space? I bet there's going to be vast amounts of office space that will be not released, re-leased, L-E-A-S-E-D, because people realize they don't need it. So talk about a sudden storm in your life. And what I'm trying to say is there's no security unless you create it yourself. You're the one that brings the money in the door, not by going out and renting yourself to somebody else, but by going to the entrepreneur model, which is you're selling widgets. And, during this time, a lot of entrepreneurs had their businesses shut down and they couldn't sell the things they had been normally selling. And I say there's three things you can sell. You can sell products, services, or information. And most people are selling products, which is what I call hard, lumpy objects. And hard, lumpy objects means physical things that you have to ship and store and manufacture. And therefore, the cost of a hard, lumpy object is more expensive. There's a hard cost for every hard, lumpy object. Not only the manufacturing of it, the creating of it, the shipping of it, and the storing of it, warehousing of it, but the shipping, the cost in the mail to get it there. And that's for one of the reasons that I don't like to sell physical products, hard, lumpy objects. I don't like that myself. Some people have been in the business of selling hard, lumpy objects, and now nobody can buy them. And now what do? They have to pivot. They have to pivot to what? Would you go find another hard, lumpy object to sell? Because now, the COVID-19 has made it more possible, more in demand. Yes, that's one thing, one way to do it. Or you can rethink what you're selling. And you could sell services. The reason I don't like to sell services is because they require lots of employees. Employees to service your customers, and you're selling a service, like for instance, an accountant. They're not really selling information. What they're selling is a service. They're saying, you bring me these numbers and I'll massage them for you. I'll service you that way. And I'll give you back another number that'll show you how your business is doing and how much taxes you need to pay. That's a service. A massage would be a service. People come in, they don't get a product when they come to your massage parlor. They get a nice massaged body. They might get something rubbed on it, but usually don't walk out of the massage parlor with a hard, lumpy object. You walk out with a body that's been worked on, and that is the service. Well, that requires a person to do it. And if you were trying to expand and grow, that means you got to have one person to service, 10, 20, 50 people per week, and yada, yada, yada. It means you got to have lots of employees. I don't like employees. Sometimes you have to have employees. I'm not saying that that's, bad thing. It's just that I don't want a business that has lots of employees. So I don't like a service business. So a car wash, for instance, when you go to a car wash, is that a product business, a service business, or an information business? Well, you don't get a hard, lumpy object when you go in with your dirty car. You just drive through, put some money in the machine. The machine does all the work. You're sitting in there while it's going through. You finish, you leave, your car is all pretty and nice. You came with a dirty car, you left with a clean car. That's the service that they provide. Lots of employees, though. Got to have employees to, rub things down afterwards, and maybe not as many with a mechanical car wash, but most service businesses require lots of employees. That's why I don't like them. Information businesses. Now, that's why the contents of this special report is going to, first of all, talk about the mindset of an entrepreneur, and that takes like 10 pages or so. And then we start talking about the information business and why it's so powerful. Because when you're selling information, you're selling something that doesn't cost you any money. It's usually your information, things that you're good at, things that you've learned how to do. It's maybe you might have spent a lot of money filling your brain up with information and skills, but eventually when you share information with people, like right now, I'm I'm having an information conversation with you. It doesn't cost me any money. Well, maybe $100 a month for Zoom. I do lots of Zoom calls, so that's a pittance. I'm here in my home, and we just bought a new home, by the way. So within a couple of months, I'll be speaking from a different place. But the bottom line is, it doesn't cost you any money to be here except your time. Yep, that's a cost there. But I can share information with you. Some of you will say, I want Bob to, coach me more and more advanced stuff. Some people do. Most people say, no, just give me the free stuff. That's all I want. And 95% of the people, that's all they ever get from me. I just give away things. And some people say, I want you to be my personal mentor or my mentor with a group coaching situation. You can do the same thing yourself. So I'm just sharing with you the table of contents of this book you're going to receive, this 21-page special report. I want you to read it word for word. The information business I think it's the best business, because what is the product cost? It's 1%. 1%. It's 99% profit. Wow. If I want to go buy a car, I have to go to, let's say I go to buy a car from General Motors. How much did it cost General Motors to manufacture that car? The cost of that car, say it's a $20,000 car, it probably cost them $16,000 to manufacture that car. Then the profits, it's only 20%. I'm not sure what the real number is, but 80% hard lumpy object cost, 20% profit. That means General Motors has to sell enough, and all the dealers have to sell enough, and all the used car dealers have to sell enough so that the 20% can be split up. I don't like 20% profit margins. And that's usually what it is with hard, lumpy objects, product businesses. You have to ask yourself the question, are you an entrepreneur that sells hard, lumpy objects? If so, why? Why would you do that? Well, because I've been doing it for years and it's working and I'm making good money. Okay, good, fine. Can you also sell information? Is there a way you could take what you've learned in selling hard, lumpy object, could you sell information? Well, for example, suppose you're an entrepreneur. Okay, you're a hard, lumpy object entrepreneur, product entrepreneur. Have you been successful? You have? How have you learned how to manage your business, your employees, your accounting, your manufacturing? You've figured all that stuff out. Wow. What is it worth to share your current knowledge about your current business with a new entrepreneur who's just coming onto the entrepreneur scene? As many of you said in your chat, you said you're shifting, you're making the shift from an employee to an entrepreneur. I'll bet some of you would love to have some coaching from some of the other people on this call who are entrepreneurs selling hard, lumpy objects, but who can say to the new people who are coming into the world of entrepreneurship, hey, don't be careful. Set yourself up right. I myself, you could say, set myself up wrong. I blew it. It was a mess. Whatever you do, don't do it this way. And you sharing your knowledge about your current expertise about an ongoing business that you're running could turn it into a side stream of income, a multiple way of making extra money, and then selling a product that doesn't have a cost for you. Your cost is 1%. Every dollar you receive from your customer, your client, your student, 99% profit. Of course, it's not 99%. There are some employees involved, and there are maybe some offices involved. Maybe there's some online costs involved. Yeah, it's not 99%. But since it's so low, the cost of failure, it goes way down. In other words, if I have a hard, lumpy object business, I've got to order the products, either manufacture it or buy it from somebody else. And the cost of doing that business is really expensive. But in an information business, the cost is much lower. Therefore, the risk of failure is so much lower. So I say a lot of that in this article, and I talk about intellectual property and all the things you could sell. And then I talk about the millionaire matrix. I want to share that with you. Today, let's talk about the millionaire matrix. The millionaire matrix is a way of thinking about the products that you sell. So let me share with you that PowerPoint. Now, in the article, I go into great detail and explain the millionaire matrix. Today, I'm just going to cover some of the conversation about it. The article will go into a lot more detail, okay? So the millionaire matrix means, well, let's see. Suppose you're selling widgets. If you're selling a hard lumpy object widget, and there are stores called the dollar stores that sell millions of $1 items. Of course, each of those items had a cost, and the store and the employees had a cost, but they had to make profits on selling lots of little tiny widgets and making a profit from those inexpensive widgets. And I'm going to say what we're saying here is, suppose the profit was $1, not the cost of the price of the product, but the profit you make is $1. Therefore, in order for you to make $1 million in your lifetime, you'd have to sell 1 million widgets. And of course, you got 10, 20, 30 years more to do it. So could you sell 1 million widgets at $1? And therefore, in your lifetime, you'd add another $1 million to your life. Let me ask you a question. Would that be easy or would that be hard? Remember, the price is low, so lots of people would be able to afford to buy it. Like almost everybody you meet would be able to afford to buy it. But you'd have to sell 1 million of them in order for you to crack the $1 million number. Would that be easy or would that be hard? Now, if I were to ask you face to face, you'd probably say, well, that probably would be hard. It'd be easy to sell, but hard to sell that many. It would require lots of infrastructure to do that. You're right, it would be. So what I'm asking you to do here today is to share your mindset. I'm trying to get to the place where you believe you could be a millionaire, all right? So you could sell a $10 widget where you net $10. Could be a book you wrote where you market it yourself. It could be whatever widget you have. It might cost $20, but in order to market and sell it for you to have a $10 profit, it might cost $30 for you to have a $10 profit. It might cost $40. But the point is that when it's all said and done and the business is run and you make a $10 profit, you'd have to sell 100,000 of them. Most people could afford $10. Yeah, so it wouldn't be hard to sell in terms of an individual product, one product. Could you sell that? Yeah, I could sell it to anybody. Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to sell. Even if you hated to sell, if you weren't good at selling, yeah, you could say, this is a really good product. You should buy it. It could be good for you. Now, would it be easy for you to sell a $10 item for one of them? I want you to ask yourself that question. Would that be easy or hard for you? Then the next question is, do you think you could sell 100,000 of them? Would that be easy or would that be hard for you? Two decisions you have to decide on. Most people would say, $10 item, selling it to one person, no big deal, piece of cake. 100,000 of them, yeah, that would require some infrastructure. I'd have to have some salespeople and I have to learn out the marketing and I have to have the warehouse and I do the accounting and yeah, that would probably be a pain in the, yeah, that would not be easy. Okay, well, let's find another product where there's a $100 profit in it. This is profit, mind you. And of course, if you want, you could just make it gross, like that, the cost of the product itself. And therefore your profit margin would have to come out of the million that you grossed. But 100, could you sell it? How about that for you as a person, individually, selling a $100 item to a person? How would that phase you? Could you do it? Would that be easy to do? Would that be hard to do? Do you have a trouble selling? more than likely, if you have trouble selling, you're an employee-minded person. And that's one of the reasons you became an employee, because you wanted somebody else to make a lot of those hard decisions. And you didn't want to sell, so you got another service part job, so part of the other part of the mothership, rather than doing the selling part. Most of the time, people who are into selling, they're more entrepreneurial. Maybe you're more an employee. So selling a $100 item, is that easy, or would that be easy, or would that be hard for you? I'm going to ask you to really decide right now. Would that be easy, or would that be hard? Yeah, even a person who's not really good at selling probably would find one person they could sell it to. Maybe not. I don't know you. For me, $100 item, piece of cake. Didn't used to be. For me now, piece of cake. 10,000 of them. Ooh, is that be easy, or would that be hard? Let's see, I'd have to find 10,000 people. Where would I find them? Let's see. 10,000 divided into 365, that would be like 300 of them a day, or 30 a day. Let's see, how would I sell 30 $100 items per day? Maybe it's 300 a day. It's either 30 or 300 a day. I don't worry about the math. I'm trying to say, you'd kind of break it down into, see, I'd have to sell a bunch of those a week. Can I sell, 200 or 300 of those a week? And I don't know. That'd be kind of hard. Although some of you might say, oh, piece of cake. Yeah, I could sell 10,000 of those. I got a team. I'm a business person. I could put that into my business right now. We've just hire a few more people to kind of manage the deal, and we would do 10,000. How many is that per month? That's 833 per month, something like that. Yeah, let's see. I think we could figure that out. Yeah, 10,000. Whoops, 10,000. I'm just doing the math here real fast. I think it's 833. So I'd sell 833 of them per month. That means I have to sell 27 of them a day. Well, it might be a little tricky. So I'm asking you to think about, as an entrepreneur, where is your belief point? First of all, the price. Does that give you any trouble at all? Do you believe yourself personally you could sell that to one person? And then the number, could you sell 10,000? What's your belief on that? Well, okay, let's look at this one. All right. Okay, $1,000 item. Now we're starting to talk. And some of the programs that I market, they're 2, 3, 4, 5,000, sometimes 10,000, sometimes more. So obviously, you can tell I'm not afraid of that number. I used to be terrified of offering a $5,000 program. This was 30 years ago, when I would hire people to sell that program for me, and the company that I ran with Mr. Painter, and we would hire people to do the selling. Because what? You know why? Because I couldn't do it. I was freaked out selling a $1,000 item, a $5,000 item. I was afraid of what people would think of me. Isn't that stupid? Do you know how much that fear cost me? I don't even dare say the number, but I struggled with that for many decades till I finally had to figure it out. I finally had to not be afraid of what people thought of me, because that fear is expensive. That fear is, remember, every thought is a thing. And if you say to yourself, I can't sell, or I'm afraid of selling, I'm afraid of marketing myself, if you're saying that, it has a cost. Every time you think it, it deducts money from your future bank account. It has an immediate impact on your long-term future whenever you think of. So every thought has an absolute expense attached to it. As I've said and quoted somebody else, I don't know who said it, but I've said it so long that I've actually attributed it to myself. And the quote is, no thought resides in your brain rent-free. Write that down. And if you know who actually said that, put it in the chat so I can read it. No thought resides in your brain rent-free. So if you have a fear, it's not rent-free. It has an immediate impact on your future and your now. Immediate. Fear is expensive, and you have to figure out how to fix it. One of these days, I'm going to do a program, just a side program off of successfulpeople.com, where we take people who have a trouble with fear, have a fear issue, and I'll do a separate, private. Let's go deep on this one fear. Let's see if we can blow that one away, so we can take that expense away from you. If that's something you'd like me to do one of these days, put it in the chat. Say, yeah, Bob, I would be involved. I would love to be part of that fear class, because I've dealt with the fear myself and I've overcome most of my fears. No one ever overcomes every one of them. The question I'm asking you now is, selling a $1,000 item, how do you feel about that? Do you believe you could do that? Is that a price point that you could fit into? Now, some of you are going to go, piece of cake. Some of you are going to go, freaking impossible. And so we need to deal with that one issue, the cost of what you're selling. Do you find it easy or hard to sell? Are you going to have to go hire somebody like I did back in the 80s when we did our seminars all around the United States? We do free previews and night sessions, and we taught millions of people who came out of their homes, went into hotel rooms, and the people who went around and sold those programs would earn a percentage of a commission on the closing of those $500 to $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 programs, $30,000 programs. And they'd have to be good at closing. They'd have to be good at it. And myself, I couldn't do it. So I had to hire somebody. But guess how much that cost me? 1 year, it cost me $1.3 million to one person who went around the country marketing our seminars. $1.3 million I gave away to somebody because I couldn't do it. Of course, he traveled for the entire year. And of course, I don't know if I'd wanted to do it, but the bottom line is I should have been able to if I decided to. The other question is about, could you sell 1,000 of those? Does that number seem realistic to you? Is it something you think you could figure out? That would be 83 people per month. That would be 2 or 3 people a day. Could you set up some kind of a small infrastructure, 1 or 2 people that could kind of make that happen? That's why I love information, is because you can sell high-priced items with a very limited staff. Whereas if you have a hard, lumpy object business, the price is usually a lot higher, and then you have to have a lot of employees to manage it. So let's go up a notch. Let's see, 10,000. Could you handle that? 10,000. You need this. Is what you're going to offer. Let's see. I was asking about you entrepreneurs here on the call. I was asking you. You have some information to sell, right? So could you see yourself selling something you created for $10,000? Would that be an easy number or a hard number for you? You say, what do I have that's worth $10,000? Well, you entrepreneurs who are successful at it, do you realize how rare you are? Literally, 5% of the population is really successful at this. There are 15% entrepreneurs. But in terms of really making it, who have employees and are managing it, it's really 5 to 10%, the most in our country. And for you to figure out how to do it and to realize that there are tens of millions of people who would like to do what you did, would your information be worth $10,000 to somebody? Could you be a consultant with them? Could you, come in and work inside their offices while they're hiring people? I mean, maybe you only have one client, and that's the one client. Would you be willing to charge them $10,000 and 1% of the gross revenue? Why do you say gross? Well, gross means just whatever dollar comes in the door, you get 1% of it. You say, why isn't it net? Because you never figure out what net is. Who they can raise people's salaries, and it gets hidden in there. If you say gross, Hey, that's pretty obvious. Money flows in right in the bank account. I see that number, times it by 1%. That's usually 5 or 10% of the net profit, 1% of the gross. So would you be willing to charge? And I like 1% because it's below the radar screen. You might even say 0.5%. It's below the radar screen. Most people say, oh, that's no big deal. 0.5%, sure. But if they're successful with your information, not only do you make a nice fee, but it continues to generate revenue for the rest of your life, as long as that business succeeds. And you're the one that's going to make it succeed for your information, right? You're going to make money for every single month because the gross revenue is calculated every month, right? Talk about residual income. Hello. If you see the information that some of you on this call have right now is worth a fortune, and it's so much easier than some of the hard lumpy object businesses you're already doing. You're hanging on by a thread, and making payroll every week is so difficult. And so what I'm trying to say is, who are you and what knowledge do you possess? And when you read this special report, I want to share that special report with you because I think you're going to love it. I do mention a few places in there where you can join with me if you wanted to, but it's 99.9% pure, solid information for you. And I want you to have it as my gift to you. Why? Because you're here every week, because you show up, and I love it when you show up, right? And I had to rush home today, by the way, from the home we were just buying to be here with you. So I make sacrifices too. All right, here we go. Back to our $1 million matrix. Let's go to the next level. All right, let's go to the next level. So we know, we already talked through your belief in each of these levels, in the product price and in the number you have to sell. We just talked about the $10,000 information product, consulting relationship, whatever you want to create, training. You only have to sell 100 of them. Hey, wait a second. How many is that per month? That's 8.3 per month. That's 2 a week. Wow. Now you start to see how I'm trying to get you, to get you to understand just how numbers can make a huge difference. Some of you may say, I can sell a $10,000 item, but could you sell 100? Could you find 100 people who would want it? Do you see that? That's the question I'm asking you. I know it might be hard for you to sell 10,000 or to sell 10,000 of them, but could you sell 100 of them? That's all I had to find is 100 people who would be desperately looking for that kind of consulting relationship. Interesting. See how sometimes you have to just figure out how to fix one problem. And in some of your problems are the fear of selling. First of all, the fear of realizing you have that value already in you. You already have a $10,000 widget in you. Each of you does. And you say, well, I don't really know that much. Baloney. You have something that somebody is willing for you to coach them and pay you $10,000. Oh, the hardest part would be getting you to believe it. First of all, getting you to believe you were worth that, and that you had something that was worth that kind of money, and then for you to overcome the fear to you to sell it. But once you overcome that fear, can we find 10 of them, 100 of them? There's 100 people who are Googling right now for what you're looking for. This very second. 100 people are Googling this very second for the information you already have in your head. You say, well, I don't know how to get them to find me. Well, that's marketing. That's a different problem, okay? Could you sell a $100,000 item? Now, there are a few people who do. Tony Robbins has a $100,000 coaching program. And in fact, there are lots of people who have $100,000 coaching programs. I don't, but what I'm trying to say is I think I'm still having a hard time getting myself to believe it. So I'm working on that one right now. You work on the $100 figure. I'm working on the $100,000 one. But eventually, more than likely by the end of this year, beginning next year, I'll have 10 people who will say, Robert, you can change my life, and here's the $100,000 check if you guarantee you get this certain result. I don't offer that, but I'm trying to say some people do. And if some people do, right now, why can't you or me do that? What do we have that's worth that? What does Tony Robbins have that's worth that? There are there are thousands of entrepreneurs, literally thousands in this world. I'm not making a broad, crazy statement. There are thousands of entrepreneurs who make $100,000 a profit per widget, whatever that widget is. And it could be an airplane, it could be a piece of fancy machinery, or it could be information. Thousands and thousands. So eventually you ask yourself the question, could I sell 10 of them? That's not even one a month. Well, I'd have to have a marketing machine that would sift through millions of people to find 10 who would say, would you do that for me for $100 grand? Oh, let me write you a check. And I'm trying to get you to think with the Millionaire Matrix. If you only found one person to write you $1 million check, thousands of people today, somewhere around the world, sold something that made them $1 million. Could be in real estate, could be a machinery, could be, like I said, airplane. It could be thousands of companies and individuals have gotten to the level where all they need in one entire year is one customer. And so they can spend $500,000 for the entire year to find one customer and have a very, very good year. Thank you very much. As an entrepreneur, I'm asking you to look at these numbers in a totally different way. First of all, is it realistic that you could sell something that's worth $1 million? That might be tough, not that many people really are good enough to do that. But finding one, do you think you could find one? What if you didn't charge the $1 million, but you just found somebody who was looking for a product like that? Maybe you'd be the finder. Let them sell the product, but you're finding the leads. You're doing some marketing to find people who would be available for $1 million or 100,000 or 10,000. So there are always kinds of ways to skin this cat. I'm just asking you to think about this for a minute. Now, where are you comfortable? I want you to take your finger and point to the line where you feel comfortable. Is it the $1,000 line? Is it the $100 line? Is it the $10,000 line? Maybe it's the $10 line? I want you to point now to where you believe you could be successful marketing a widget like that. Okay, and everybody right now, touch the line that represents where your belief is. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to go into the chat. And I've never done this before. So I'm asking you for fun, tell me which line represented the one that you really felt comfortable with in yourself. Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 100,000? And I want to see the number. Now, let's look at the number. So I want to get to see who my audience is today. Who are you? Okay, here we got 1,000, said Kevin. Yeah, 100. 100, okay, there's 100, there's a 10,000, there's 100, there's a 1, okay, tell the truth, I love that. There's a $10, there's a $100 one, there's 1,000, there's a 10,000, okay, everybody, yep, there's 1,000, thank you, Sam. Angelica, you're more than that, Angelica, you can go bigger than that. Bigger than 100, let's put it that way. 1,000, okay, so why did you pick that number? Because it was based on your belief. And what is belief? It's a thought in your head about what you decided is what you feel you were able to do. It was what you believed was possible for you. Yeah, thank you, Tim, for you've done it before. That's good. 1,000. So Many of you wrote 1,000. Some of you wrote 100. Some of you wrote 10,000. I don't see too many 100,000s in there. I didn't put my name in there. Did you see how it shifts your mindset? It shifts the way you think about your product that you're going to market, and the way you think about how you're going to organize yourself. Can you do this by yourself? Can you be a solopreneur and market 1,000 products at $1,000 net profit to you? You could probably outsource a lot of the work to a lot of other people. You could work out of your office, in your home. You wouldn't even need to rent an office space. Yeah, most of the entrepreneurs today are realizing that they can operate without formal employees. They can outsource it to contractors who do the work, and you don't have to pay for their health benefits and all those other kinds of things. You outsource it all, and you can handle it. You, as the solopreneur, as the conductor of the symphony, you bring in the horns. You pay the horns. You bring in the violins. They're not in your office space. You could outsource all of that to the violin section. Probably there would be a violin section you could rent from somebody else who runs a company of violins, and you just use their service for when you need it, and then the overhead goes to zero. Overhead's a killer. Overhead at zero means I get more pure profit. Outsourcing everything, well, if you want to scale up, well, you probably can't do it as a solo entrepreneur. You're going to have to bring a team, and nothing gets really big without a team, frankly. But still, teams can be outsourced. Anyway, today, our conversation was about what have you done the last 90 days? And then it was about stretching your thinking, stretching where do you believe is possible for you? I'd like you to share with me today what was an aha you got from our conversation today. Next week, we're going to continue on the same kind of conversation. And then we'll be done with what I call the millionaire matrix. And then we'll be shifting into some other subjects. But in the next 2 weeks, we'll be staying on this subject. For those of you who are entrepreneurs, good. Thank you. So tell me, I'm going to bring us out live. I'm going to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Put it in the chat. You love the matrix. Thank you very much, Tasha. Samaya needs to focus. Yeah, mindset is just more zeros. Oh, can I quote you on that? I think I'm going to steal that one. Mindset is just more zeros. And now I'm going to say that over and over again until I'll give myself credit for saying that. Mindset is just more zeros. Mindset is just more zeros. Mindset is just more zeros. I've always said, mindset is just more zeros. There we go. Good. Good. Okay, the matrix is going to be shared with you in this document that's going to be placed into my Facebook page. And my Facebook link is, let me tell you what that is. So my official Robert G. Allen Facebook is facebook.com/official Robert G. Allen. I'll put that into the chat here. So if you've not been on my Facebook, you go facebook.com/official Robert G. Allen. Okay. Posting it there for everybody. Oh, it says privately. We don't want to do it that. We want to do that for everybody. Everybody. There we go. And now that's my Facebook page. So on that page, Kanisha, our team member, is going to be placing the article, and it's going to be called The Millionaire Matrix. It's 20 pages long, pure good content. I think you'll like it. Would you do me a favor when you read it? Every once in a while, somebody reads my articles and they find a typo in there somewhere. So on the Facebook, just say, Bob, I found a typo. It's on page X. Here it is. So let me go fix it. So when I give it out again, okay? Yeah. Yeah, my aha was, has your stock gone up or down in 90 days? Oh my gosh. What about flex, what do you call that? Yeah. I am on Instagram, and my Instagram is called Traits of the Greats. And that's where I post daily a quote that inspires me. And therefore, I have a team member in the Philippines who works with me and creates these posts for me. And then every 3 or 4 days we get together and she shows me what she's created with the quotes I've given her. So yeah, so that's traitsofthegreats.com or Instagram.com/traits of the greats, right? Any other ahas, comments, thoughts, questions? Put them in the chat. Our call is essentially done for now. We'll continue this. We got another mind-blowing thing I need to share with you next week. Yes, okay, good. Thank you, good. Thank you, Kim, appreciate it. Yep, fantastic. Okay, thank you. All right, everybody. Any thoughts, comments, quotes, you can just put them in the official Robert G. Allen Facebook page. You're welcome. Hope that stretched your mind a little bit. What I'm trying to do is the quote goes, you know, man's mind stretched to a new idea never returns to its original dimension, said Oliver Wendell Holmes. So every time when we get together on successful people, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stretch your mind. And me too, and mine too. Because we can always have our mind stretched. One day, who knows, in the next world, in the next life, our minds are going to be blown, stretched unbelievably to do amazingly, unbelievable, incredible things. We're here on the earth. We have a governor on our brain. You know, they put a governor on a motor, it means you can only go 30 miles an hour because the gas is always stopped with this governor. Well, our brain is that way. We're only using like 5% of it. But what happens when we get into the next life and they take the governor off our brain? Your brain is the most powerful computer anywhere. And it's been stopped down on purpose. You know why? So you can choose to do this thing and that thing, because your brain can only carry in itself 4 or 5 thoughts at a time. So it's been dumbed down. Put a governor on your brain so you can only think so many things. So you get to choose of those things every second. And at the end of your life, we'll look at what you chose because you were given the choice millions and millions and millions and millions of times. And because with your limited brain power, you focused on a few things that you really, really, really wanted. And then you ended up building a life as a person who thinks that way, and therefore your choices will be revealed to you. And you'll see all of the choices you made, and it created who you became. And then a person who has stretched their mind here and learned as much as they can here, and they get into the next, this is of course my own personal belief, it may not be yours, but in my own personal belief, in the next existence, they take the governor off our brain. And we don't talk, we just think. And everybody can pick it up. We don't just walk, we zoom to anywhere we think. Because the universe is a big place. And so while we're here, we want to choose with the limited choices we have, with this limited brain we have been forced to use, the choices that make us a better person and the choices that make other people better. We can choose to give or we can choose to take. We can choose to share or we can choose to hoard. We can choose to love or we can choose to fear. So I think it's not love and hate, it's love and fear. And we can choose to fear. Fear what people would think if we actually wanted to give them something, but we were afraid of what they might think. We can choose to love or we can choose to fear. Every day we get an opportunity to choose. How many times did you choose today? I've been told that somebody says that we make about 1,000 serious decisions every day. How many of those decisions made you a better person? How many persons had a real impact on the future of you or somebody around you? Another choice, another guess. Marshall Thurber, who's a good friend of mine, has guessed that it's about 1%. It's about 10. About 10 decisions you make today are going to change your life. I hope one of the decisions was to be here today. I hope that was one of your 10. But about 10 times a day, you're going to get to make a life-changing decision. You get to choose. You could procrastinate it, and therefore that was fear, and therefore you put it off and you were afraid, and therefore you chose fear. You can choose love, which means I love to expand my life. I love to get better. I love to grow. I love to share. I love to help. I love to give. I have, just what at the end of your life, it's probably going to boil down to, was your life about love or was it your life about fear? And the record of all your choices is indelibly right there on your hard drive. And it'll only take a second to you re-experience the entire experience called life, because it's all right there on your hard drive. And therefore, there are things I've done in my life that I don't want on my hard drive. So I basically try to say, let me do better. And I think doing better kind of erases the old bad experiences. Little by little by little, they slowly get smudged out, or instantly, depending upon your personal spiritual belief. So today, when it's all said and done, did you choose to love or did you choose to fear? Choose to love. That's why I come with you. I love you. I want you to win. I may never meet you. I never see your face. I might see your name on the chat here. I don't know who you are. I don't know how you got here. All I know is I'm supposed to be here sharing with you what I'm saying now. I wish you all, my friends, a great day, a great rest of the day, a great week. Tomorrow, what will you choose? What will be the majority of your decisions? Will they be about love or will they be about fear? Fear is expensive, steals your life. Got to fix that one as fast as possible. Thank you, Angelica. We'll see you, Scott. Bye, Victoria. Pamela. Love you. God bless.
Love you, Bob. Thank you so much.
See you.
Love you.
You can unmute yourself. Say that. Say goodbye, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Bye.
Happy birthday to your wife. Take care.
You're amazing.
Thank you, Bob. God bless you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for doing that call with us last week.
Thanks.
Tim, yeah, Tim.
I appreciate you.
Vishnu. Very good. Beverly Heshi. Dr. Heshi. Oh my gosh. Ali's there. Ali, good friend Ali, whenever you want to do another call, let me know. Samaya, Charlene, Kevin, Sam, Tayari. That's an interesting name. Tom, Meliciana, Shot. I'm not sure what that was. Ellen, AJ. Hi, AJ. Taryn, Clifford, Investor. That's a good name. Jeff, Josie. Oh, we had a good group on today. Very good. Tom. It was recorded. We'll probably put a link on that in the Facebook page so you can watch it again if you want to. Good night, good day, everybody. God bless. Love you.
Bless
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Kim,
Bye.
Lisa,
Thanks, Bob.
Steve.
Bye-bye.